He was wealthier than Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos combined. In the 14th century, Mansa Musa, emperor of the Mali Empire, ruled a kingdom so rich in gold it dwarfed the treasuries of Europe and Asia. His 1324 pilgrimage to Mecca stunned the world, showering so much gold on Cairo that it crashed Egypt's economy. Yet, this African ruler, whose wealth and wisdom built a global hub of trade and learning, is barely a whisper in Western history books. Why has the richest man who ever lived been forgotten? Join me as we uncover the dazzling empire of Mansa Musa and the mystery of his erasure from history. In the 14th century, the Mali Empire stood as a beacon of wealth, culture, and power in West Africa, a vast realm stretching across modern-day Mali, Senegal, Gambia, and parts of Mauritania and Guinea. At its heart was Mansa Musa, who ruled from 1312 to 1337, presiding over an empire that controlled the world's largest gold reserves during a time when Europe languished in the Middle Ages and the Mongol Empire's influence waned. The Mali Empire thrived on trans-Saharan trade, its caravans carrying gold, salt, knowledge to North Africa and beyond, while its cities like Timbuktu became global centers of learning. This was the world that shaped Mansa Musa's legendary reign, a golden age of African prosperity that history has often overlooked. The Mali Empire, founded in the 13th century by Sundiata Keita, was a federation of diverse ethnic groups Mande Fulani, Songhai united by trade and Islam. By Musa's time, it spanned over 2,000 kilometers. Its wealth rooted in gold mines like those at Bambouk and Bure, which supplied half the world's gold. Caravans of camels, sometimes numbering 100,000, crossed the Sahara, trading gold and salt for cloth, spices, and manuscripts from the Mediterranean and Middle East. Islam, introduced in the 11th century, central to Mali's elite, shaping governance and scholarship. Though many subjects blended it with traditional beliefs in spirits and ancestors, Timbuktu's Sankar University drew scholars from Cairo and Baghdad, its libraries housing thousands of manuscripts on astronomy, law, and medicine. Life in Mali was stratified yet vibrant. The emperor, or Mansa, ruled as a divine king, supported by nobles, grahats, oral historians, and a military of horsemen and archers. Farmers and herders, the backbone of society, worked millet and rice fields along the Niger River, while artisans crafted gold jewelry and leather goods. Slavery existed, but unlike the brutal chattel system of the Americas, enslaved people in Mali often held roles as soldiers or advisors with paths to freedom. Women wielded influence. Queens, like Musa's mother, Cancun Musa, advised rulers, and market women controlled trade. Yet life was not without hardship. Droughts, bandit raids, and political rivalries threatened stability. The broader world was in flux, Europe mired in feudalism, and the Black Death's shadow envied Mali's gold, known through tales of traders. The Islamic world, from the Mamluks in Egypt to the Almoravids in Morocco, respected Mali as a Muslim power, its rulers making the Hajj to Mecca. The Mongol Empire's decline opened trade routes, elevating Mali's role in global commerce. Yet Mali faced challenges. Rival kingdoms like Songhai and internal succession disputes loomed. Mansa Musa's 1324 pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey of 6,500 kilometers, would thrust Mali onto the world stage, showcasing its wealth, but also sowing seeds of disruption. As his lavish spending reshaped economies and perceptions far beyond his borders, Mansa Musa, emperor of the Mali Empire from 1312 to 1337, was not just a ruler, but a colossus of wealth and wisdom. A man whose gold-laden pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324 redefined global perceptions of Africa's power. Born around 1280 into the Keita dynasty, he inherited a throne built on the world's richest gold mines, transforming Mali into a hub of trade, learning, and culture. Known as the wealthiest person in history, his fortune estimated at $400 billion in modern terms, Musa was a devout Muslim, shrewd diplomat, and a patron of scholarship, yet his name is barely a whisper in Western history. His story is one of a visionary leader whose brilliance illuminated the medieval world, only to be overshadowed by time. Musa cut an imposing figure, described in Arabic chronicles as tall, regal, with a calm demeanor that belied his immense authority. As Mansa king, he wore flowing robes adorned with gold. His court in Niani, a spectacle of opulence with advisors, griots oral historians, and guards wielding curved swords. His wealth came from Mali's gold mines in Bambouk and Bure. But his true strength was his mind, strategic, curious, and devout. Raised in the Islamic faith, Musa memorized the Quran and studied with Timbuktu scholars, fostering a love for knowledge that rivaled his love for power. His mother, Cancun Musa, shaped his early years, instilling compassion, while his predecessor, Mansa Abubakar, too, inspired exploration, reportedly sailing across the Atlantic before Musa's reign. Musa's world was the vibrant Mali Empire, a sprawling federation of Mande, Fulani, and Songhai peoples, united by trade routes across the Sahara. His capital, Niani, buzzed with markets selling gold, salt, and ivory. While Timbuktu's Sankar University drew scholars from across the Islamic world, life under Musa was prosperous, but hierarchical farmers tilled the Niger River's fertile banks. Artisans crafted intricate goldwork, and enslaved people, often war captives, served as laborers or soldiers with paths to freedom. Musa's court was a melting pot. Muslim clerics advised on law. Griots sang epic histories, and women like his wife Inori Kunate wielded influence behind the throne. Yet dangers loomed. Rival kingdoms like Songhai, droughts, and internal power struggles tested his rule. His defining act was the 1324 Hajj to Mecca, a 6,500-kilometer journey with a caravan of 60,000 people, including 12,000 slaves in gold-trimmed silks and 80 camels, carrying 300 pounds of gold each. Musa's generosity, distributing alms to the poor, building mosques, and gifting gold to Cairo's rulers crashed Egypt's economy, devaluing its currency for a decade. He returned with Arab architects and scholars, elevating Timbuktu into a global intellectual hub. His diplomacy forged ties with Morocco and Egypt, but his wealth drew envy, and his absence during the Hajj sparked rebellions at home. Musa faced constant challenges, balancing Islamic and traditional beliefs, managing a diverse empire, and defending against raiders. His generosity was strategic, but his lavish spending strained Mali's coffers, and his reliance on loyal generals like Sagmandia created tensions with nobles. By his death in 1337, Musa had doubled Mali's size and influence. But succession disputes weakened it, his sons unable to match his vision. Mansa Musa was a paradoxical ruler of unmatched wealth who lived modestly, a Muslim who honored local traditions, a global figure nearly erased from Western memory. His life embodies the Mali Empire's golden age, a legacy of brilliance that history has yet to fully embrace. In 1324, Mansa Musa, emperor of the Mali Empire, embarked on a monumental pilgrimage to Mecca. The journey began in Niani, Mali's capital. With a procession unlike any in history, Musa's caravan included 12,000 slaves clad in Persian silks, 80 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold, and thousands of soldiers, merchants, and griots singing his praises. Chroniclers like Ibn Battuta described it as a moving city, stretching for kilometers across the Sahara, with Musa riding at its heart robed in gold, shaded by silk parasols. The Hajj, a pillar of Islam, was a sacred obligation, but for Musa, it was also diplomacy. He aimed to elevate Mali's status among Muslim powers like the Mamluks of Egypt and the Marinides of Morocco. His route crossed the scorching Sahara, passing oases like Togaza, where salt mines fueled Mali's trade. Before reaching Cairo, the Islamic world's beating heart, he distributed gold to the poor, gifted Mamluk sultans with tens of thousands of dinars, and bought manuscripts and slaves, flooding the city with wealth. Al-Umari, an Arab historian, wrote that Musa's gold devalued Cairo's currency for a decade, slashing gold's value by 20%. Merchants scrambled, prices soared, and Egypt's economy teetered, a phenomenon modern economists call Musa's inflation. His largesse was strategic, showcasing Mali's power, but it stunned observers. One chronicler noted, "This man's wealth has no measure." Musa built mosques, like the Jingerbur in Timbuktu, and recruited Arab scholars and architects, transforming his empire into a cultural beacon. the pilgrimage's fallout was immediate. In Mali, Musa's year-long absence 1324 to 1325 left a power vacuum. Rivals like the Songhai and Gao raided borderlands, while nobles in Niani plotted against his regent, his son Magan. Musa's lavish spending strained Mali's treasury. Though gold was plentiful, its reckless distribution abroad raised questions about his judgment. On his return, he faced rebellions, notably in Gao, which he quelled with his general Sagmandia. But the cracks in his empire's unity were evident. The Hajj also drew unwanted attention. European cartographers, like those in Catalonia, began mapping Mali's gold, sparking interest from Portugal and others, foreshadowing colonial greed. This turning point redefined Musa's reign. The Hajj elevated Mali's prestige, making Timbuktu a global hub of learning, with Sankara University housing 25,000 students. In 1 million manuscripts by the century's end. Musa's diplomacy secured trade ties with North Africa, ensuring Mali's prosperity for decades. Yet, it exposed vulnerabilities, his wealth invited scrutiny, and his absence weakened control. The pilgrimage cemented his legend as history's richest man. But it also planted seeds of decline. Succession disputes and external pressures loomed after his death in 1337. Musa's journey was a dazzling triumph. But it marked the moment when his empire's golden age began to shine too brightly, casting shadows that history would struggle to preserve. Mansa Musa's 1324 pilgrimage to Mecca catapulted the Mali Empire into global fame, showcasing its unparalleled wealth. But his reign from 1312 to 1337 was a constant battle to sustain that golden age against internal strife, external envy, and the fragility of an empire built on gold and trade. As the richest man in history, Musa faced the daunting challenge of governing a vast, diverse realm, balancing Islamic devotion with traditional beliefs, and defending Mali from rivals while preserving its cultural and economic dominance. His struggles against rebellion, succession disputes, and the long shadow of his own generosity defined his legacy, revealing the delicate line between prosperity and collapse in a kingdom history has largely forgotten. Musa's empire, stretching over 2,000 kilometers across West Africa, was a marvel of commerce and culture, but governing it was a Herculean task. The Mali Empire thrived on trans-Saharan trade, its caravans carrying gold from Bambouk mines and salt from Tagasa to markets in Cairo and Damascus. Yet this wealth attracted raiders like the Mossi from the south, who attacked Mali's borders, looting villages and disrupting trade routes. Musa's military, led by generals like Sagmandia, relied on cavalry and archers to repel these threats, but campaigns drained resources. Internally, the empire's diversity Mande, Fulani, Songhai bred, tension. Provincial governors, often royal kin, wielded near-autonomous power. In Musa's absence during his year-long Hajj sparked rebellions, notably in Gao, where the Songhai briefly broke free. Economic survival was another struggle. Musa's lavish spending in Cairo during his pilgrimage devalued gold, causing inflation that rippled back to Mali. Merchants in Timbuktu, reliant on stable trade, grumbled as prices fluctuated. To rebuild, Musa imposed taxes on caravans and land, which strained relations with wealthy traders and farmers along the Niger River. His vision for self-sufficiency led to grand projects mosques like Jingerbur. Libraries in Sankerbut, these required labor, often coerced, echoing the servitude Musa's Islamic principles opposed. His subjects, from farmers to griots, revered his piety, but whispered of his extravagance, creating a delicate balance between loyalty and resentment. Cultural and religious conflicts simmered. As a devout Muslim, Musa sought to make Mali a beacon of Islamic scholarship, inviting Arab architects and scholars to Timbuktu. Yet many Malians clung to traditional beliefs, worshipping spirits alongside Allah griots. Keepers of oral history resisted Islamic clerics' influence, fearing their stories would be sidelined. Musa navigated this by blending faith-building mosques, but honoring local rituals, yet tensions persisted. His wife, Inari Kunate, mediated disputes, her influence calming noble factions, but even she couldn't quell all dissent. Women, vital in markets and households, faced exclusion from formal power, their roles unrecorded despite shaping Mali's stability. Externally, Musa's wealth drew envy. His Hajj put Mali on European maps, like the 1375 Catalan Atlas, which depicted him holding a gold nugget. This attracted Portuguese explorers, whose 15th-century voyages foreshadowed colonial exploitation. Muslim powers, like the Mamluks, respected Musa, but saw Mali as a distant vassal, not an equal. The struggle to maintain diplomatic ties was costly. Musa sent gold-laden envoys to Morocco and Egypt, draining reserves. His generosity, meant to cement alliances, sometimes backfired. Cairo's rulers, overwhelmed by his gifts, grew wary of his influence. The greatest conflict loomed after Musa's death in 1337. Succession was a weak point in Mali's system. His son, Magan I, inherited the throne but lacked his father's charisma. Rival princes and generals vied for power, weakening the empire. By the 15th century, Songhai overtook Mali, capturing Timbuktu, while internal corruption eroded the Keita dynasty. Musa's libraries and mosques endured, but his empire's cohesion faltered, its wealth unable to buy unity. The struggle to preserve his vision was lost to time, as European colonial narratives later buried Mali's story, favoring tales of crusades and kings. Musa's survival strategy was his adaptability, blending Islam with tradition, war with diplomacy, wealth with wisdom. He fortified cities like Timbuktu, ensuring its libraries survived invasions. And his patronage made Sankara a global university, with 25,000 students at its peak. Yet his struggles highlight the paradox of empire. Immense wealth could not guarantee permanence. Its conflicts, from quelling rebels to managing a diverse realm, mirror modern challenges of governance and cultural unity. Musa's Mali survived his reign, but its gradual decline and erasure from Western history underscored the fragility of even the richest empires. Mansa Musa's reign from 1312 to 1337 marked the zenith of the Mali Empire, a golden era of wealth, trade, and scholarship that placed West Africa at the heart of the medieval world. His 1324 pilgrimage to Mecca, showering gold across continents, ensured his name echoed from Cairo to Timbuktu. Yet his death in 1337 heralded a slow decline, as internal strife and external pressures eroded Mali's dominance. Recognized as history's richest man, Musa's legacy endures in Mali's cultural heritage and Timbuktu's manuscripts. But it has been largely erased from Western narratives. Overshadowed by Eurocentric histories that sidelined Africa's contributions, his story is a paradox. A ruler whose wealth reshaped global trade, yet whose name is barely known outside academic circles. The immediate outcome of Musa's reign was a strengthened Mali empire. His pilgrimage elevated Mali's prestige, drawing scholars, traders, and architects to Timbuktu, which became a global intellectual hub, with Sankara University housing 25,000 students and 1 million manuscripts by the 15th century. His mosques, like Jingerbur, still stand, UNESCO World Heritage Sites that symbolize Mali's golden age. Musa's diplomatic ties with Morocco and Egypt secured trade routes, ensuring gold and salt flowed for decades. His military campaigns, led by generals like Sagmandia, subdued rivals like the Songhai and Gao, expanding Mali's borders to their peak, roughly 2 million square kilometers. Economically, his policies stabilized markets post-Hajj, though his lavish spending in Cairo caused temporary inflation at home. Recognition came swiftly in the Islamic world. Arab chroniclers like Al-Umari and Ibn Battuta praised Musa's piety and wealth, noting his generosity in Mecca and Cairo. The 1375 Catalan Atlas, a European map, depicted him holding a gold nugget, cementing Mali's fame as a land of riches. In Mali, Grits sang of Musa's deeds, preserving oral histories that endure today. His patronage of education made Timbuktu a rival to Baghdad, with manuscripts on astronomy, law, and medicine influencing Islamic scholarship. Globally, his wealth inspired a modern estimates place his fortune at $400 billion, dwarfing today's billionaires like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. In Mali, he is a national hero, his name adorning streets and schools. Celebrated during festivals like Tabaski, yet erasure defines much of Musa's legacy. After his death, Mali faltered under weak successors. His son Magan I faced rebellions, and by the 15th century, the Songhai Empire overtook Timbuktu, reducing Mali's power. European colonialism in the 19th century buried Musa's story. Further French colonizers dismissed African empires, favoring tales of European exploration. Western textbooks, until recent decades, ignored Mali, focusing on crusades or Renaissance kings. The transatlantic slave trade, which devastated West Africa, severed cultural continuity. Griots were enslaved and manuscripts lost. Gender erasure is notable. Women like Musa's wife, Inari Kunate, who managed court diplomacy, are rarely mentioned. Their roles overshadowed by male-centric narratives. Modern recognition has revived Musa's story, but challenges persist. The 2012 Mali conflict saw jihadists destroy Timbuktu manuscripts, though 370,000 were saved by local archivists like Abdel Kaddour. UNESCO's efforts preserve Mali's heritage, but poverty and political instability limit conservation. Popular culture embraces Musa documentaries like PBS's Africa's Great Civilizations 2017. And online platforms like TED-Ed Spotlight, him-but myths like claims he funded Columbus's voyages, distort facts. In academia, scholars like Francois-Xavier Fauvel highlight his economic impact. But Eurocentric curricula still marginalize him, teaching Charlemagne over African kings. Musa's outcome reshaped history. His wealth fueled global trade, indirectly influencing Europe's age of exploration as Portuguese navigators sought Mali's gold. His emphasis on education preserved Islamic knowledge, bridging the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. Yet, his erasure reflects a broader West Africa's empires, deemed primitive by colonial powers, were sidelined, their artifacts looted or neglected. Today, Mali's manuscripts face threats from climate change and conflict, mirroring the fragility of Musa's legacy. As one griot said, Musa's gold bought immortality, but only in our songs. His story challenges us to reclaim forgotten histories, recognizing a ruler whose empire shone brighter than any, yet faded in the shadow of time. Mansa Musa's reign over the Mali Empire was a dazzling chapter of human history, a time when an African emperor's wealth and wisdom outshone the kingdoms of Europe and Asia. From 1312 to 1337, his gold fueled global trade, his patronage built Timbuktu into a beacon of learning, and his legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324 reshaped economies and perceptions across continents. Yet, the richest man in history, whose fortune dwarfed modern billionaires, is barely a footnote in Western narratives. His empire's glory buried under centuries of colonial erasure. Musa's story is a testament to Africa's brilliance and a stark reminder of how history silences those who challenge its Eurocentric lens. This forgotten emperor urges us to reconsider the past not as a tale of Western triumphs, but as a tapestry of global contributions. Musa's Mali was a crossroads of culture, where scholars, traders, and griots wove a legacy that still inspires. His erasure warns us of the fragility of knowledge, lost to war, bias, and neglect. Much like Timbuktu's manuscripts endangered today, as one Malian scholar said, Musa's gold was not just wealth. It was a promise of what Africa could be. Let his story inspire us to seek out hidden histories, honor the unsung, and ensure the riches of the past illuminate our future. Mansa Musa's Mali Empire, with its rivers of gold and Timbuktu's libraries, was a beacon of wealth and wisdom that history nearly buried. The richest man ever, his 1324 pilgrimage stunned the world, yet his name fades in Western memory. If his story of brilliance and erasure captivates you, share it with a friend who loves hidden histories or tales of forgotten greatness. Let's keep Musa's legacy alive, celebrating Africa's golden age. For more stories of unsung empires and lost wonders, stay tuned. History always has more secrets to reveal.